had been here before. Same room, same chair, same silence, but this time it felt different. He wasn't scared, not exactly, just tired. Tired of being told what to fear, what to check, what to chase. He glanced down at the folder. It had his name printed in bold, his date of birth, a long list of numbers and abbreviations only someone in a lab coat could understand. He folded it closed. There was no pain, no symptom, no complaint. But still, here he was, because someone had said he should come, because it's better to be safe, because it's what good patients do. But something inside him whispered, what if this isn't safety? What if this is something else? He looked around the room. A younger man in his 40s sat typing furiously on a phone. A woman with silver hair clutched her purse like it held all the answers. And he sat with a strange thought floating at the edge of his mind. What if peace comes not from knowing more, but from fearing less? They don't talk about it often. The fear that builds not from pain, but from possibility. That little voice that whispers, what if? What if you're missing something? What if you're ignoring a sign? What if you're not doing enough? It's the burden of being responsible, of wanting to catch things early, of trying to stay ahead. But here's the part no one says out loud. Constant vigilance, ... is exhausting. Always watching, always checking, always wondering. And sometimes, even after everything, the worry remains. It creeps in at night. It sits beside you during breakfast. It speaks louder than the doctor's reassurances. You're fine, they say. But the worry answers, for now. That's the heavy truth. The older we get, the louder the quiet fears become, and no test result ever seems to silence them completely. He used to go once a year. Now it's every few months, then every few weeks. Blood work, imaging, follow-ups, retests. Each visit added another layer, another test, another scan, another just in case. At first, it felt responsible, proactive-wise. Then, it felt like a job with no days off, a job where the reward was another task. This is the quiet rise of the place where prevention turns into preoccupation. It's not that anyone meant harm. They meant well. Every doctor, every technician, every nurse. But when everything is treated like a potential emergency, nothing feels like living anymore. He missed his granddaughter's recital because of a follow-up. He skipped a fishing trip because of a scan. And somewhere along the way, healthcare became a full-time occupation. Greater than I wanted to feel safe, he thought, but I just feel tired. She followed every instruction. Eat this, don't eat that. Take this pill. Come back next week. Go here. Sit still. Don't breathe. Breathe. Hold. Wait. She had no symptoms, no complaints, just a number that looked a little off. That number became a scan. That scan became a biopsy. That biopsy became a treatment. And that treatment, it made her sick. Not just the nausea, the weakness, the bruising, but the way it stole her peace. The quiet joy of baking for her grandson was gone. The walks with her husband became shorter, then stopped. And yet there was no guarantee she needed it in the first place. This wasn't healing. This was surviving something she never felt to begin with. Greater than I didn't feel ill, she whispered, until they told me I was bad. There's courage in saying yes, but there's also wisdom in saying no. He remembered when he used to chase every answer, every number, every image, every possibility. But now he chases something else. The sunrise on the porch, the familiar scent of lavender in his wife's scarf, the sound of laughter echoing in the hallway after Sunday lunch. He still takes care of himself, but he's not at war with his body. He listens, he moves, he breathes, he smiles. And when someone says, maybe you should test this, just in case, he smiles and replies, maybe I should live instead. He hasn't given up. He's just learned what truly matters. I don't need every answer, he says, just the right questions. He wasn't a chart. He wasn't a checklist. He wasn't a number or a room or a code. But sometimes it felt that way. The nurse smiled. The doctor nodded. The technician was polite, but no one asked him how he felt. They asked where it hurt. what he ate, how often he moved, his bowels. They asked the questions they were trained to ask. They marked the boxes they were told to mark, but they never paused, never listened between the lines. Care had become mechanical protocol over presence. And yet, in a rare moment of silence, a young nurse placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "Tell me how you're really doing." He almost cried. That's right, there was care. Not the form, not the printout, not the referral doc. It was that one moment of being seen. They checked everything he said except my heart. She used to panic at every twinge, every ache, every flutter. Years of conditioning taught her that her body was a puzzle constantly coming undone. But one day, she sat still, listened, and realized something amazing. Her body was talking, not in alarms, not in emergencies, but in whispers. It told her when to rest, when to stretch, when to eat something warm, when to be still. The system had taught her to fear silence, to seek noise, numbers, READOUTS. But peace came when she stopped outsourcing her instincts. She began trusting her body again. She still visits her doctor. She still cares for herself, but she doesn't panic. She doesn't race. She doesn't test for every turn. Greater than my body, she smiles, knows what it's doing. I just had to learn how to listen again. He used to define health by numbers, blood pressure, cholesterol, bone density, glucose. But none of those told the full story. They didn't tell you about the joy of watching your grandson graduate or the comfort of your wife's hand in yours. They didn't describe how good a tomato tastes fresh from your own garden or the strength it takes to forgive an old friend. So he started writing a new story, a health story, not of metrics, but of moments, not of symptoms, but of serenity, not of fear, but of fullness. It's not that he ignores the science. He just no longer lets it be the only author of his life. This chapter of life doesn't have to be filled with appointments and alarms. It can be filled with choices, with trust, with quiet knowing. It's not about ignoring your health. It's about redefining it, not as a checklist, but as a way of living. Not in fear, but in faith. Not in numbers, but in joy. He smiles now when someone asks about his latest check-in. Because his check-in, it's this morning. His breath, his laughter, his coffee in hand and birdsong in the background. I used to chase reassurance, he says. Now I sit with peace. Because health isn't always about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing less with intention, with courage, and with calm.